Can everyone see the screen that I've shared?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we will start. It is 10:40. We will start it. So today we will just look into a few theory part of your module one. And before we get into your module one, a few basic things we will cover, and then we will head into module one. Module one, first part is almost theory, and second part of your module one has some numericals. So your subject is quantity surveying and contracts management. So we will look into your module one. So you can just go through the topics that are included in module one. Okay, so this module consists of some definitions of basic terms, then some terms which are used in estimation, which are explained. Then we will see units of measurements, how and which units do we use for measurements. Then we will look into various types of estimates. Then estimation of a building, how it is done by using these two methods, long wall, short wall, and then central line method. So this second part, that is your estimation of building using long wall, short wall, and central line method is a numerical part of this module. So we will try to cover the first three parts of this module today. Okay, so coming to a few general things. So why do we need to study this estimation and valuation, as you know? Can anyone just let me know why do we need to study this? Some general answer. You know why we study estimation? It is a very common thing. Can anyone just tell
Sir,
me
total
why?
total construction cost ಅನ್ನ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ ಸರ್. ಎಷ್ಟು ಫೈನಲ್
Yes, yes.
ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟಾಗುತ್ತೆ?
Yes, definitely that is a correct answer. So whenever we want to build any civil structure, that is any building or any infrastructural like canal, dam, or any road work, we need to know what it will cost to build the respective structure. No, so before knowing the cost, we will never start the work. So yeah, we basically need estimation and valuation. Valuation is nothing but your estimation of your existing building. That is valuation, and when the building is to be constructed, it is known as estimation. Okay, so this is why we need estimation. So consider someone of a friend wants to build a structure, then he approaches you. What he'll say is, I want to build a 2 BHK house of 2 floors, 2 stories. So please let me know what is the estimate that you will give me, so that I can prepare for funds and I can arrange money, right? So that is why we need estimation. And when you prepare a plan, we can approach the owner, and we can let him know what are the materials that we will use, and according to that, and according to the rates, local rates, we will find an estimate, and we will provide the estimate. And if the customer says that your estimate is very high, then we can always change the estimate using the various other materials which are locally available, and then you can always revise the estimate that is there. Then that is nothing but estimating. Estimating is nothing but it is a technique of calculating or computing various quantities of work. Okay, so and the expected expenditure that is going to be incurred on the some particular work or the overall project. So estimating nothing but giving an abstract value. It is never perfect. Estimation is never perfect. So it is just an approximate value. It will never be exactly the same thing. Okay, so estimating is giving an abstract or an approximate value of the cost that will be incurred while for constructing the particular project. So the following requirements are necessary for preparing. So why? So can you just name what do we require? As I said, the first thing that you require is a plan, a proper plan which will be executed. That plan is required. Then anything else that you can think of that you need to prepare an estimate? Anything else you can think of that you need?
Cost of materials, sir.
Yes, you need a rate. Okay, you need rate of you need analysis. Need to do analysis of rates, and you can multiply that by the quantities, and you can get the rate. So that the main basic two things that you require. So drawings like plan, elevation, and section are important points. Drawings is the first main thing. Second is the specification you need of how the work has to be done, what is the workmanship, the properties of the material, that is all covered in your specifications. You specify what type of material you use, what is the property of that material, what is the quality of work that is going to happen. So that is the second thing that is required. After drawings, you need specifications. Then after that, as you said, you need schedule of rates. Schedule of rates, we usually abbreviate it as SOR. As you can see in the screen, it is abbreviated as SOR of the current year. Okay, so you have to use the latest SOR, which will be provided by usually the PWD department of your district. So that is there. Then next thing, a few basic terminologies. You can see a plot area. The top length is represented as L, and the width is represented as capital B. So the plot area will be L into B. Okay, so the overall plot is L into B. So we never construct the whole thing. We always give some setbacks. So you can see there is this setback that is given, and the actual constructed area is your L1 and B1 in the figure. So that is nothing but your plinth area. L1 and 2, B1 is your plinth area, which includes your wall thickness. See, you can see the arrow marks. It is including your wall thickness. So whenever you include your wall thickness and you calculate, it is your plinth area. Plinth area, you know what is plinth? What is plinth? It is given at your after your damp proof course. Okay, lintel level is at your top, and your plinth level is at your bottom. Okay, we will look into few images, you will understand it better. So in your plinth area, usually we do not include the courtyard area. Or what do you mean by courtyard area? I'll show you an image. You will understand what this courtyard area means. Okay, you do not include this open space that is given in your area. That is maybe it may be a lift, or it may be a courtyard, or it may be a veranda. So these things are not included in your plinth area. So next, you might have heard carpet area. What is the carpet area that we will be able to get after the construction? Usually they ask. So carpet area is your plinth area minus some factors. So carpet area is equal to plinth area minus some factors. What are these factors that you have to reduce? So carpet area is usually where you are going to live. So that is nothing but your hall, your living area, and your bedrooms. So that is all these, if you sum up, is your carpet area where you are going to live. You are not going to stay in kitchen, or you are not going to stay in lift or veranda, right? So that only you include your bedrooms, your hall, and your living rooms. So summation of these areas will give you a carpet area. So what you have to exclude is you have to exclude a kitchen, you have to exclude a lift area, verandas, stores, etc. All these where you're not going to live is excluded from your carpet area. So these are your factors. So what next thing is your floor area. Floor area, what do we mean by this? Floor area is your plinth area minus your wall area, meaning you have to take your distances in distance you have to take inside. So this L1 and B1 will be taken inside. L1 and B1 will be in distance of this room. That is our floor area. And we can see setback area that we have to always provide. So can anyone just tell me why do we provide this setback? As you can see in this figure also, you always provide some 3 feet or some minimum 3 feet is always required. So some places it is given less. So we always provide some setback area. Why do we need the setback area? Can anyone just let me know if they have an idea?
So for ventilation purpose and to remove the conflicts for other sides.
Okay. So ventilation is correct. You have said correct. One reason is for ventilation. When you have some distance, there is always some circulation of air that will happen. So that is one important thing. When you have windows, you have space for your setback, then there is ventilation that is going to happen. Second thing is for your foundation. You always foundation always protrudes from your column side. So we need some space to hold these columns. So we need to provide setbacks, and then we need for drainage pipes to lay your drainage pipes. You cannot lay it in your plot in your plinth area. So it is always outside a plinth area. So for drainage pipes, for all those plumbing pipes that you need. So we always need this setback area for that. So many other reasons are there, but these are the few important reasons why you always provide setback. So coming to next thing. So we need circulation area. So what do we mean by this? circulation area. Circulation area is nothing but your summation of your veranda, passages and lifts, wherever you are going to move. So wherever there are passages, wherever there are veranda and lift where movement occurs. So that is the summation of that areas gives you your circulation area. Okay, so veranda, passages, lifts, and all those things where movement occurs, where you travel from one place to other place. So that is your circulation area, where you are not going to live, where you're not going to cook, all those things. So circulation area. So for example, you can see your plot area, you can see is this thing 12 meters by 10 meters. The outside area is your plot area. So it is equal to 120 square meters. So next thing, plinth area will be this thing 8 into or 10 into 8 meters. So it will be 80 square centimeter approx, including your wall thickness. So plinth area is out to out of your plinth area. So floor area will be reducing your wall areas, or how you can do is you can reduce this thickness, that is 200 wall has been given. What you can do is out of this 8 meters, you can reduce this 0.2 here, and you can reduce 0.2 at the bottom, and the inside width of your room is 7.6 meters. You have reduced 200 here, 200 here, that is 400 in total, that is 8 meters minus 0.4. So it will be 7.6 meters into in, and yeah, lengthwise it will be 10 meters minus 400 200 here, 200 here. So it will be 400 in total. So 10 meters minus 0.4, it will be 9.6. So a plinth area or your floor area, sorry, it will be 7.6 into 9.6, that is equal to 72.96 square meters. So understood, this is your floor area. So estimate. So what this estimate consists of? What are the various things that are covered under this estimate? First thing is the cost of land. Always you need land to construct. No, so always that cost of land is there. Cost of land. Then this cost of land consists of various other things like the actual cost of land. When you go to buy a piece of land, there is this actual cost of land that you have to pay. Then there is always a broker in between, if any. Okay, so if there is any broker, you have to pay some brokerage charges. Okay, so it may be around 1%, 2%. So you have to pay some brokerage charges. Then there is legal deeds and documentation that you have to do. You have to register that plot yeah, on your name, all those things. Then documentation has to be done. All those things has to be done. That costs some amount. So that is included in your cost of land. Then there is always a surveying cost. So surveying cost is not included in the construction part. So it is surveying cost of your land. So what is the area of your land? You have to survey and you have to exactly mark your borders. So that cost, surveying cost, is included in your cost of land. Okay, so remember this, in your cost of land, these 4 things are included. That is actual cost of land, then brokerage charges, if any, legal deeds and documentation cost, then surveying cost. These 4 things are included in your cost of land. So next thing, there are a few contingencies that you have to keep. Contingencies in the sense for any unforeseen circumstances, you have to pay pay from your project. So that for that you have to keep some 3 to 5% of your total project cost as contingencies. Okay, so for any unseen circumstances, you have to keep contingencies 3 to 5%. So then there are legal expenses that are required, which have to be done. Some legal documentation and all those things are covered in legal expenses. Then there is actual cost of structure, what you are going to build. So there are various things that are in this actual cost of structure. So what this actual cost of structure consists of? First thing, it consists the cost of the material that are you going to use. Then the second most important thing is the cost of your labor. Okay, so cost of material. Second thing, cost of labor. Then there is water and electrification that you have to do. Then that cost is included. Then there is engineer's fee. You are going to work on that. No, so designing, and you are going to do planning. All those things they are going to pay for. Okay, so planning and designing and supervision also you have to do. So that also is paid by in the cost of structure. That is kept in your cost of structure. Remember. Okay, so these are the 4 major things that are included in your estimate. That is cost of land, contingencies, legal expenses, and cost of structure. So coming to next thing, purpose of estimate. We have seen many purposes. We will look into detail what the purpose of an estimate is. Okay, so first thing, estimate gives us an idea of the cost of work. Okay, so you just get an idea of what is the cost of work, or the cost of the project, and then you can decide whether to build it as per the estimate that is there, or you are going to revise your plan and all. Okay, if you do not have any funds available, or if your funds are lesser than the estimate, then you have to always revise. Okay, so that is there. Then you can check the feasibility of that project on the estimate. So that is there. Then the second second purpose of an estimate is it gives an idea of time required for the completion of work. Okay, so estimate gives us an time required, whether it will take 6 months, whether it will take 1 year, or depending on the structure, you can it can give you an idea, just an idea. It is never accurate. It can just give you an idea of the time required. So the next thing is to ascertain the quantity of materials, right? So various various materials are required, to build a structure. So various materials, like cement is basically required. Then you need aggregates, you need bricks, you need all those things, you need reinforcement. So these materials will cost you something. So when you know the quantity of these materials, you can multiply by their rates and you can get your estimate. So you can ascertain the quantity of materials from an estimate. You can ascertain the quantity of labors, right? You need to decide how many labors you need, how many tools and plants or equipments. If it is a major project or infrastructural road project or a dam project, you can ascertain the number of equipments, plants that you have to set up, like RMC plant you have to set up, or if any special tools are required, like in PSC you require special jacking tools and tensioning tools. Those things are required. Then what will be the cost of those? All those things you can ascertain using this estimate. So quantity of labor, tools, plants and equipments. Then the fifth thing is estimate is required to invite the tenders and quotations and to arrange contract. So we will look into this in your, I guess, in your fourth module, how estimate is required to invite tenders and how to apply for these tenders and how quotations are given and how your contract is awarded to your contractor and how the process of construction takes place, how the billing is done, and how your payment of your billing is also done. Then if there are any problems regarding, and if there are any changes to be done or in the contract, in your project work, all these things we will study in your, I guess, fourth module regarding tenders. Okay, so sixth is to estimate is also required to control the expenditure during the execution of work. Always it is a thing that at site there is always extra expenditure that is going on. So when you have an estimate in hand, you can always let the laborers and the engineer who is responsible of execution let know that this is the estimate and you have to finish the work in this time and in this cost. Okay, so it should not exceed this time and this cost. So you can always let this know to the execution engineer who is at the site and responsible for the execution of work. So estimation also is also required to control the expenditure. Then seventh is to justify benefit to cost ratio. Benefit to cost ratio. So what is the benefit if I build this project? What is the cost that is going to happen? So always your benefit should be more than a cost. So the ratio should be always greater than 1. So depending on your project, so you can set your benefit to cost ratio and you can just assess whether your project is going to be beneficial or whether you will have to pay from your pocket, and then it will be a huge loss for you. So that estimate is used to justify the benefit to cost ratio before your commencement of your work. So eighth thing is estimate decides whether the proposed plan matches the funds available or not. So this is almost in line with your first point here. So you can decide whether the plan that you have matches with the funds. If your funds are lesser, you can always change the plan before execution, and then appropriately you can change your plan matching your funds, and then you can go forward with your revised estimate. That is there. Then okay, so we are done with your purpose. We will look into some technical terms. So okay, if you have anything to ask, you can always unmute and you can ask now. If you have any doubts or if you want me to continue, just let me know. I'll continue. Some students are joining very late. Ningappa is joined right now. Okay, so try to be on time because the classes will start within 5 to 10 minutes of your actual timetable. Okay, So students are telling me to continue. Okay, so I shall continue. A few we will look into a technical terms what are used to prepare an estimate, because without knowing these terms you cannot start with this estimation subject. Okay, so technical terms. First thing, estimate. First basic thing, the definition of an estimate, it is an anticipated or a probable cost of work. This is the most important thing, that it is anticipated or a probable cost. It is never a exact value. Okay, so it is anticipated, it is projected, it is probable cost of your work. It is prepared before the construction is taken place always. Okay, remember. Then it is indeed calculations or computations of various items of an engineering work. You need to do calculations or computations and then arrive at your estimate. So estimate is always related to cost. Estimate, when you talk about estimate, it is always almost every time related to cost. And when you come to quantity surveying, it is related to quantity. As the name says, it is related to quantity. So it is the schedule of all the items. Schedule meaning it is a list or a tabular form wherein it gives all the schedule of your item of work in a building. What are the various items, like your excavation work, your foundation work, your plinth work, then your slab work. Various works are mentioned in this schedule. So what are the quantities of your material required for each of these work are mentioned separately. And then in the end also there is a mention of the overall cement that is required, the overall aggregate that is required also, that is also given in the end. And abstract values, or abstract table is also given in the end. So estimate is always, estimate is not always, but it is most of the time related to cost. When you ask an estimate, you always get a reply in amount, that is cost. And when you ask for quantity survey, it is related to quantity of your materials, various materials and the quantities of various works. So next thing, what do you mean by detailed specification? So specification, as I said, specification gives us how the work has to take place, what is the workmanship that is required, what is the material that is required, what is the class of work, what is the nature of the material, what is the properties of the materials. All these are given in the specifications of every work. So a detailed specification gives all of this detail in detail. So quality of the material, their proportions, method of preparation, how the this thing mixed proportioning has to be done in the field. Then when you provide a detail to the site engineer that it is M25, say M25, how it has to be mixed, how it has to be prepared, and how it has to be applied. All those things are given in this specification. So workmanship and description of your execution of work are given in this detailed specification. Coming to next thing is rates. So rates, what do you mean by rates? Is nothing but your cost per unit. Rate is given by cost per unit of your work. So you can multiply with the total quantity and you can get the cost of your whole work. Okay, so adding up all these works like foundation work, then starting from excavation of a foundation, then laying of a foundation, then plinth work, then your column work, beam work, slab work, all these things individually rates are found out, and then summation of all this gives your entire cost of your project. Okay, so the rates of various work, item of works first individually, then is done. Then also this includes the wages of your different categories of labors. So there, as you know, there are skilled and unskilled labors. So various wages of this are given in these rates. So cost of transportation charges are also included. Okay, so transportation charges should be also included. So as far as possible, sanctioned schedule of rates shall be followed. Sanction meaning it is coming officially from the government side. So shall be followed, or the rates may be worked out by the analysis of rates method. So usually we use the SOR, that is schedule of rates, and analysis of rates. We will look into how it is done, but it is not usually worked out. So this is your rates. Next thing, site plan. What do you mean by site plan? Site plan is the plan drawn for a particular location, giving its position. So whenever you have a site, so your site plan gives where your site is with respect to your road, with respect to some important permanent feature. Okay, so you know where exactly your site is with respect to these permanent points. Okay, so this okay, so we shall read, it is showing its position with respect to approaching roads, main bazaars or markets, or any other permanent feature in a populated area. Okay, it shows the location of your area under construction with respect to other areas. So this is a larger map like kind. Okay, so yeah, also it shows the north line. North line is always clearly marked on it, and also generally, but not compulsorily, the adjoining plots that you have with your plot is also mentioned, and the name of the owners or the details of those plots is also mentioned. Okay, so we will just look into a figure here, site plan. So this is your site plan. See, this is your whole site. You can see at the top right corner, it is chain link fencing. So this thing is your whole site, wherein you have block 1, block 2, block 3. Okay, then this is there is north line, which is clearly mentioned here. You can see there is scale that is mentioned, and with respect to a road, say to Newtown, to highlighter, to a higher field. Okay, so that is there, this road is there. With respect to this road, you can see changes are taken, and this block 1, block 2, block 3 are determined where they fall exactly. Okay, so this is your site plan, example of a site plan. So next, coming to line plan. What do you mean by line plan? As the name suggests, it is just it consists of basic lines showing some main features, not very detailed, just showing your main feature, how the plan is, and not detail of construction are not generally shown in this plan. So usually inside and outside dimensions are shown using lines and not very detailed. So we will look into what this line plan looks like. Okay, so this is a line plan of a particular plot, wherein you can see it is just represented by few lines, and only the inside and outside dimensions are mentioned, and no other details are mentioned here. Okay, so you can see 18 feet is the length, and then there are 9.599 feet 5 inches is your width. Okay, so of this total plot, and you can see bedroom is 3 feet by 6, 3 by 6 feet. Then this bedroom is also 3 by 6. So these are your almaris here, 2 by 3. Then this inside length is 11 feet. Okay, so this side is, it is 7 feet. This is 5 feet. This is 2 feet. Here door is shown. Here also one door is shown. So this is your line plan. Okay, so coming to next thing, index plan. So index plan, it is usually placed at your entrance of your particular site. So always you can see at our college also, there is one index plan that is shown before the ramp. Okay, where you approach your civil department, there you can see a board that is there, wherein it shows where you are currently standing and where all the other buildings are, and their names, and you can use this index plan to reach wherever you want to go. So this plan is generally fixed on the entrance or at an exit or in the central place of the colony. So this is usually to help you navigate through this colony or through your campus and all. Okay, so or to guide the inhabitants and outsiders. Okay, so you can always see that there is one index plan, as I showed, as I told you, in the campus. You can come and whenever you come, you can just watch your index plan, which is attached near your ramp. So index plan indicates a plan of construction drawn to definite scale. It is the definite scale and not just an approximate, then showing all detailed information required for its execution. So various sections and elevations are clearly drawn on this plan. Okay. Okay, so this second part is a detailed plan. Okay, so the detailed plan is nothing but your which shows all your details, inside dimension, outside dimension, your wall thickness, then your window sizes, what is the height, the depth, all those things are mentioned in detail in your detailed plan. I'll just show you a picture wherein you will clearly understand what is this index plan and your detailed plan. So this is your index plan, wherein it shows north. Then it shows various buildings where they are located and their names, and you can always use this plan to navigate through and to reach wherever you want to go, which building you want to go. So this is your index plan. Then coming to detailed plan, see, it is a very detailed plan where you can see your grid markings here at the below 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and then here you can see your grid points here, A, B, C, D, E, F at the left. Then there is a center line marking, and there are wall thickness are shown. All these dimensions are shown. See, it is very in detail plan. It is in detail. So this is a detailed plan. Okay, coming to next terms, center line plan. You might have used center line plans. Let us just look into the definition. This is actually a layout plan drawn to facilitate the laying out of foundation lines and other features. So usually center line plan is used to lay the foundation, okay, where the foundations are have to be dug up. Okay, so it is usually at the column center, running through the center of your walls and your beams, not your inside or outside. So this is an example of a centerline plan. See, at the left you can see various foundations which is used, and this is your centerline plan. Then this is your second floor. I guess this is the left one is your first floor or a foundation level, and your right side plan is your first floor plan. Okay, so in your left side you can see foundations, you can see column positions, and in the first floor plan in the right side you can see only columns, because at the first floor your foundations do not exist. It exists only in your foundation level. Okay, so you can see columns, you can see this shear wall that is there between E and F. You can see a rectangular type of this, that is your shear wall, which is used usually for your lift. It is usually used for a lift or a staircase. You can see columns, and you can see shear walls. So this is your center line plan. Okay, coming to next thing, administrative approval. Okay, so whenever you prepare an estimate, you are ready to construct. Before you start construction, you have to take administrative approval. Also, you have to take technical section approval. Okay, so administrative approval when for whenever project whenever usually it is taken when it is a departmental work. Okay, so you have to take the sanction of your approval of your competent authority. So usually administrative approval is done by your CEOs, okay, Chief Executive Officer. It is done by them. Okay, so they go through your estimation and they check, and if they feel it is okay, so they will approve it. So it has all these details, and with respect to cost and work, and okay, so it is just like a formal acceptance by the administrative department, and then you can once this is done, you can go forward with your technical approval. After administrative approval is done, you have to go for technical sanction. So we know technical sanction has to be done by your respective engineers. So technical things your engineers will be knowing. So as the cost of your work goes on increasing, cost of estimate is higher, higher level engineers will be sanctioning your or approving your estimates. Okay, so when it is say about 1 crore, 2 crore, it will be done by your chief engineer. Whenever it is lesser, it will done by a AE or a double E. Okay, so they will go through your estimate. They will check if everything is correct, if you have used rates correct, if your quantities are correct, if your design is correct. All those things they will check up. If it is not up to mark, then they will let you know what the changes have to be done. You have to revise your estimate, get back, and then get your sanction. So administrative approval, administrative usually done by your IAS level officers, and your technical sanction usually done by engineers. Okay, remember this. Then procedure for estimating or method of estimating. What is the procedure that we follow for estimating, or the various methods that we use for estimating? So estimating involves the following operations: preparing the detailed estimate first, and the main thing is you prepare a detailed estimate.
Hello.
Okay, not
Hello, sir.
ಹೇಳ್ರಿ
Sir, one doubt is, sir.
ಹೇಳ್ರಿ.
ಸರ್ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟಿವ್ ಅಪ್ರೂವಲ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಇಫ್ ನಮ್ದು ರೆಸಿಡೆನ್ಶಿಯಲ್ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಇತ್ತಂದ್ರೆ ಸರ್ ಅದು ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲ ಸರ್? ಅದ ನಮ್ದು ಎಷ್ಟೋ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಇದ್ರು
ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟಲ್
ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್
they have for any project required by the department. Okay, so department andre it is only for your governmental work. Okay, so then you require this administrative approval. Okay, for technical sanction, I guess it is required for residential also.
Yes.
I guess you have to go to your respective authority, you have to take a sanction. Okay.
Yeah, okay, sir.
Coming to next thing. Okay, so preparing your detailed estimate is the first thing. Then calculating in this detailed estimate, you calculate the quantities. Okay, then you calculate the rate of each unit of work. Each unit you separately calculate the rate. Then what you do, you prepare an abstract of your estimate. You can the engineer or the owner or your client will not go through the entire estimate. You have to prepare a brief estimate and telling that this amount of this quantity is required, this is the cost, and this will be the entire cost of the project. So you have to prepare an abstract of your estimate. So preparing a detailed estimate, calculating the rate of each unit of work, and then preparing an abstract. So we will be doing all these three. We will be preparing a detailed estimate, we will be calculating the rate, and then we will be preparing abstract of an estimate. We will be doing this in your numericals. Okay, so coming to specifications. So specifications, there are two types. First is the general specifications. General specification gives us the nature, quality, class, and work of your materials. Okay, so it gives you general things. General things like the nature of your material, the quality of your material, the class of the workmanship, the work that is required of the materials. Okay, so in general terms, it is general terms to be used in various parts of work. Okay, it helps to form a general idea of the building. It helps to form a general idea of the building. Next, detailed specification. After general specification, you can always go for detailed specification, wherein it gives in detail what has to be done, what are the qualities of material, what are their properties, how the work has to be conducted, all those things, how the execution has to be done, how the preparation has to be done. All those things are given in detail. So that is your detailed specification. Coming to rates. Okay, so for preparing an estimate, the unit rates of each item of work are required, right? You need to know what is the rate of each item, what is the cost of your cement bag, what is the cost of excavation, what is the cost of your formwork, what is the cost of your bar bending. All those things you need to know. Okay, various material cost, various labor costs, all those things you have to know. So you have to, first thing is for arriving at unit rates of each item. For arriving at the unit rate, why these are required, why rates are required for arriving at the unit rate of each item. Then the rates of various materials to be used in construction, rates are required. Then third is the cost of transportation of materials. Also, we have to know the cost of transportation of materials. Okay, so we need to know, as I said, we need to know wages. Wages meaning daily what you pay them, wages of your labor, skilled labor, your unskilled labor, that is your whether it is a mason, whether it is a carpenter, or your pipe fitter. All those things you have to know. What is the wager, what is the wages that are there at your location. Okay, so what do you mean by this lump sum? You might have heard this term lump sum. Okay, so lump sum is while you're preparing an estimate. Okay, so while you are preparing, it is not possible to work out in detail in case of small insignificant terms. Some things are there which you cannot include in estimate, where very minor things are there. So what we do, we include all those minor things in one term called lump sum, and we create one 2 to 5% lump sum amount, and we include all these minor things in your lump sum. So what these lump sum items are usually include is your contingencies and your unforeseen items. Mainly it includes contingencies and unforeseen items. Second thing, your lump sum usually includes is your electrical installations, like your meter, your motor, for your pumping of your water, all these things. Then architectural features, you may have some architectural features for that. That all those things are included in your lump sum. Then water supply and sanitary arrangements have to be done. So these things are usually included, but nowadays only contingencies and unforeseen items are included in lump sum. And the second, third, and fourth point, that is electrical, architectural, and water and sanitary, usually is not included in lump sum. Because the cost of these have now significantly increased. Okay, so earlier it used to be in lump sum, but as per your textbook and your theory syllabus, it says that all these things are included. Okay, in general, certain percentage of cost of estimation is allotted for the above LS meaning lump sum items. Okay, so even if sub estimates are prepared or at the end of execution of work, the actual cost should not exceed the lump sum amounts. Okay, so when sub estimates, meaning estimates which are prepared in between, okay, or for particular work, sub estimates. Okay, so when all the sub estimates are added up, it should not include the actual estimate that you have provided. It should not exceed the LS amount that is allotted for you. It has to be in those range, that is 3 to 5%. Your LS amounts should not increase your 3 to 5%. So what do you mean by this? Work charged establishment. So during construction of a project, considerable number of skilled supervisors. Skilled supervisors meaning your engineers, your work assistants, then your watchmen are required, obviously. Then there are all these are employed on temporary basis. They are not going to stay there permanent. They are going to construct, they are going to work, and they are going to leave. So they are employed on temporary basis. So we have to pay them their salaries, no? So where their salary come from, where you have to include these salaries. So these salaries are included in the work charged establishment, meaning salaries of this person are drawn from the LS amount allotted to the work. So for a particular work, say slab work. So from slab work, whatever who is supervising or who is working on slab, their salaries will be taken from that thing. So okay. So LS amount allotted towards the work which is for which provision is made in the estimate. So it is taken from your lump sum amount, as they say. So salaries are drawn from this and not from your any other thing. So this is nothing but a work charge establishment, and LS amount of 1% to 2% of an estimated cost of your total cost is provided towards work charge establishment. Okay. So salaries are given from your lump sum amount of your on which they are going to work. Suppose they are going to work on foundation, so lump sum amount is allotted for foundation, and from that their salaries are paid. So this is your work chart, this thing. Then appointment of these employees is done by your executive engineer or a execution engineer, who is responsible for the execution of your work. So he will be appointing all these employees or your laborers who are required for your construction work. Okay, so coming to types of estimates, you can just go through the types of estimates. Okay, so before we start with the types of estimate, if you have anything to ask or anything to say, you can just chat. You can just enter in chat, or you can just unmute and you can say. I can see 27 of you are here. I don't know what is the total strength of your class. Can anyone just let me know what is the total strength of your class? Is it around 60 or 70? Uttangi says around 70. You do not know the exact number of students in a class, or you are giving me an approximate estimate of your class strength. I want a detailed estimate or an exact estimate. Yeah, around 30, half 66. Aziz saying 66. Pradeep saying around 70. Okay, so 66, I guess less than half of you are here today. So you can tell your students, you can tell your friends to attend from the next class, because we will be starting with the numericals next class, which will help you solve your numericals in this part and also your second module. Without your basics of this thing of the next class, you cannot solve your second module. Entire thing you will be missing out. So make sure that your friends attend the next class. Okay, so should I just continue with the next thing? Should I continue, or should we continue it in the next class? Okay, so three of you are saying that we should continue in next class. So what I'll do is just explain in brief what these are, what these types of estimate terms are, and we will go through these all these things in the next class. Okay, so coming to types of estimate, as you can see, there are around seven to eight types of estimates. As you can see, first thing is a preliminary or a abstract or approximate or rough. See, it has many names. You can usually in the field they say, give me a rough estimate of what is going to be the cost of this. So with experience or by knowing the things around, you can just give an approximate or your rough estimate to your client. So that is there. It is also called as preliminary or your abstract estimate. So coming to plinth area, I have shown you what is plinth area. So what we do is we use only your plinth area. We reduce all your courtyards. We deduct your verandas. We deduct the lifts, all those, and we calculate the estimate. So this is plinth area estimate. Cube rate estimate or cubicle is wherein you find your estimate not in meter square, not in area, but in length, breadth, and height in cubicle. And cubicle rates are multiplied. Usually in plinth area, what we do is we find the area and we multiply by per meter square rate. Per meter square rate. Per meter, what is the cost? We multiply. In cubicle rate, we multiply per meter cube rate. Okay, so in detail, what we'll do is in classes detailed estimate, we will find out in detail the estimate. We will solve numericals on this. Then there is revised estimate. What I told is whenever you want to change, when you have lesser funds or when the sanction is not approved, when they tell you to change certain things, you have to change those and submit it as a revised estimate. Okay, so that is there. Then supplementary estimate along with these estimates, when you have to provide certain estimates of certain things, that is added as a supplementary estimate. Then there is annual repair. What you have to do always yearly, you have to maintain your buildings. Okay, so whenever there is maintenance work or repair work that has to be done yearly, that estimate is separately prepared, right? Whenever you want to do patchwork, painting work, or rust proofing work, all those things you have to do, and you have to prepare annual repair estimate or annual maintenance estimate. So these are your generally what are your types of estimate, and we will look into detail what these are with definitions in your next class. Okay, so if you have anything to ask or anything to say, you can just share now. Yamoji is here. I see Yamoji. Yamoji has troubled me a lot for SSP attestation. Yamoji. Yamoji, where are you? Yamoji, you are at home? Yamoji has slept, I guess.
ಹಲೋ ಸರ್
ಎಲ್ಲಿದ್ದೀರಿ?
ಅದೇನ್ ಸರ್?
ಊರಲ್ಲಿದ್ದೀರಿ ಎಲ್ರಿ?
ಹಾ ಸರ್.
You are at home or you are at native? Where you are?
At home sir.
Okay. So students, you can start writing your USN in the chat, which will be your attendance now. Attendance for this class. You can start typing your USN with your names. Okay, so name will be recorded. Just you can type your USN. As soon as I say attendance, everyone is back active. And when it comes to speaking up, no one is here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 3 Jyotis are here. Komal is here. Uttam Bisaji, I know, has troubled me for SSV. Uttam. I say Virat Kohli fan here. Okay, 25 of you are here. Okay, so we will end the session at 11:30. If you have anything to ask or anything to want me to explain once more, you can just let me know. Okay, thank you. We will meet in the next class and tell our friends to be attending the next class because it is very important. Okay, so see you in the next class.